I never thought that when I was a teenage girl living in a small $5,000 a month apartment in New York City, that I would be on the same stage after Stevie Wonder. Wait a minute, that's not the right speech. I'm speaking to you this evening about a costly nuisance, junk mail. You know, the unwanted 42 pounds that Newman delivers to Jerry and George and Kramer and Elaine and to you and to me every year. Junk mail is detrimental to this country. By junk mail, I mean the unwanted, unread, tossed mail, which would include second class, third class, and fourth class mails. Mail is divided into 5 different classes. And much of the controversy about it stems from an 1879 Mail Classification Act in this country. There is no class distinction today, though, with these new terms. And what a smart way to clear up what's going on by changing the definitions of the terms. First class mail, including priority mail, is stamped single envelopes. Bulk mail is a large amount of first class and standard mail. Patron mail, which came about in the early 1950s, is that which omits names and addresses. Advertisers would deliver a bundle to their local post office and for each carrier route that they wanted to saturate with their message. This plan still continues today. This past Saturday, in my mailbox at the local branch postal service, I received a flyer entitled "Every Door Direct Mail." And it was a new cost-effective way promoted by the Postal Service to promote business in the area. Basically, mass mailings to carrier routes and not by mailing lists. And they're offering free seminars in November in Century City, I think, and at South Central. To explain this. It's actually an old method that continues today. But how will this affect my clutter? How do I dodge the pile? What's the use of opting out if they're not going to use a mailing list to send this to me? Another thing that needs to be defined is the PRC, the Postal Regulatory Commission, which is an independent regulatory agency created by the Postal Reorganization Act of 1970. And then Ramsey pricing. It's an argument that if prices are to be increased, it is a good strategy to increase the markup on goods with the most inelastic demand, because consumers are going to buy them anyway. The rule is applicable to taxation as well, and that some goods and services, and it means that some goods and services will be taxed and others will not be taxed. This was proposed by Frank Ramsey some time ago. And it's known as the inverse elastic rule. It's some interesting calculus. Now the USPS, which is the United Postal Service, says that, sure, it's a lot of paper, but we're not using tax dollars for this, and we're trying to stimulate product and service industries by lower rate deals in advertising and marketing, and at the same time squanders resources and creates tons of waste. The media says, and this is recently from CBS, you don't like junk mail, and here's how to get rid of it, maybe. This is because it's a hot topic. Again, on the early show, only last week, correspondent Susan Culpin, I think it is, told of ways to stop the flood of catalogs, flyers, and unsolicited requests for your money. She reported that Americans receive nearly 90 billion pieces of advertising that equals 59% of the mail they receive every year. The EPA says that there's 5 million tons of solid waste a year. And that's a lot of trees, no? Yes, it's over 260 billion board feet, or over 80,000 small homes of 1,000 square feet. She went on to say that if you feel like drowning in this mail, there's hope. If you feel like you're drowning in this mail, there's hope, and there's ways to opt out. My personal experience with opting out on the do not call list, which has been totally ineffective. All the waste is not good for the country, it's not good for the environment or the Postal Service. Now, history tells us this is an issue that has long plagued, and has been long plagued by name-calling, class distinction, value judgments, politics, lobbying, and lies. Richard Kabowski of Faculty University of Washington, in his article, Origins of the Junk Mail Controversy, a media battle over advertising and postal policy, suggests that the problem dates back to this 1879 Mail Classification Act. But before in the 1950s, when public attacks were prevalent on third-class mail, there was an article published in a magazine in 1917 called The Plague of Circulars, and how it anticipated many of the later arguments against junk mail. A circular was the same kind of thing and it's still used today. It existed at that time. It says the pestifus circular, weighing quite as much as a letter, is carried through the mails for a cent. More than 90% of the matter passed as third class is sheer waste, and promptly goes unread, unopened, unconsidered into the waste. To contend that the printed circular is a necessity or even a valuable adjunct to the business of our country is absurd. Mail solicitation of business by printed circular has become intolerable annoyance to which we are all subjected, and whose addresses appear, to which we are all subjected, those whose addresses appear in the directory or the phone book. This broadside is striking by virtue of its rarity until the newspapers mounted a campaign in the 50s. An argument that I remember was cited by the advisor in my junior college newspaper. In the 50s, newspapers began to lose advertising revenue to televisions, but instead they attacked the post office and the patron mail experiment instead. In the 20s, kind of skipping around the history here in the 20s.
James, I've got to cut you off. It's 9 minutes at this point, and I don't know how much longer it's going to go, and we have a couple of other speakers to hear.
Okay. Can I sum it up?
Yes, please.
I conclude a reduction in unwanted, unread, tossed mail will help us all. Postage at what price will they send only what we need?
All right, very quickly, the historical information is in